we have this. Yes, I'm pretty sure this guy's wearing a toupee. We got this toupee wearing weirdo. Um, here's his whole reasons for impeaching Trump. Now he goes on Piers Morgan and just gets completely roasted by everybody.
Congressman Shritan.
He is. He looks like a joke. He is a joke. Look at this fool. What? Like what? He's got all this makeup on.
Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact.
This teleprompter is moving so slow so this guy can keep up.
This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment.
Only
Article
7?
1, obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power. From denying due process to unlawful deportations, Trump defied court orders.
How do you know that he's not giving them due process? Do you know anything about immigration law? I'm wondering because you don't. Due process can come from a border patrol an ICE agent coming to do an arrest and saying, "Hey, I have a warrant for your arrest." Boom, that's it, done. That's due process right there.
Article 2, taking away Congress's power of the purse. Trump dismantled agencies and froze funds without permission from Congress. Article 3,
I know this is boring.
abuse
Just
of
we gotta
trade
get.
powers
Actually,
and
you know what?
international aggression.
You get the gist. Like this guy is just a complete idiot, coming up with all this BS. Okay, so let's go to the roast session. Okay, so now we're gonna start this roast session. This guy is just a straight up grinning, useful idiot. Like, watch this.
Your response to the congressman and his plan, well, he's not planned, he's gone ahead with it, issued articles of impeachment against Trump.
Factual but not truthful. American citizens weren't deported. That's just not true.
Yeah,
Due
idiot.
process was given to all of these people.
Yep.
Look, if you want to argue that someone like Abrego Garcia deserved an additional hearing, a 3rd or 4th hearing, or that as the actual due process they're concerned about pertaining to him is a USCIS interview to determine the current standing of Guatemala and this Barrios 18 gang, by all means, send a USCIS agent down to El Salvador, his home country, and have that conversation. But instead of actually dealing with these issues, what do we get? Bloviating nonsense.
Yep.
It's 100 days in, we're going to impeach him for what? Oh, he's doing all of these things wrong or whatever. Look, the American people voted for this. They're largely happy with what they want.
Yep.
People have concerns about the economy. His polls are down. That's true. That's fine. But a lot of this is hyper-partisan sophistry intended to rile people up.
And these polls, you have to pay attention to the way they word them. They're very sneaky in the way they do that. They'll say like, "Do you support Trump deporting American citizens?" It's like, what do you, what? That's not what he's doing. And then if you look at if you look at just all the libtard media, they did a percentage wise of how much favorability they've had since Trump has been in office. It's like 97% is negative and 3% favorable. Pete Hegseth 100%, Elon Musk 100% non-favorable. So all the coverage they're giving him is all negative.
There's two reasons why I'll tell you Trump's polls are down.
Yeah,
and they
there
are
we go.
down.
He knows.
If you track Rasmussen, he dropped by about 6 or 7 points from where he was earlier. It's a swing, not a drop. He's down by 4. And this is probably due to tariffs. Mm-hmm. When you look at the corporate press, the principal institutions, ABC, et cetera, he's down in the double digits. However, if you go back to the start of his second term, you can see that the polls completely disagree with each other in ridiculous ways. One day he's up 10. The next day, a new polling agency said he's down 10. The only thing you really need to track is a singular poll's movement over time. And we are seeing a minor decline. That is likely due to 401ks dropping, people being concerned about this. Does this rise to the level of impeachment? No. I think you're doing this largely because you want to get your name out there.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats have no
Nobody
front
knows who he
runner.
is.
No one knows who's in charge of the party. So everyone's clawing to the top of the crabs in a barrel to try and be the pick me.
Look at this guy.
All right, Congressman, you're just doing this because you're a narcissist.
Where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
With all due respect, this is an idiotic thing to do. And it's proving that the Democrat Party has no play. They don't know what to do right now because Trump is winning on everything. He's strategizing how to fix the economy that Joe Biden drove not only into a ditch, but off a cliff. And this is why the American people were suffering. And it sounds to me like this is a political move to try to put him in good graces with the AOC crowd and the very, very far left radical crowd ahead of another election. This is ridiculous. The American people were sick of the previous attempts of impeaching President Trump before. They don't want to see this again. And I'm embarrassed for this gentleman. I'm embarrassed for that
Straight up
that he's doing that he's fallen to that level to try to impeach President Trump in his first 100 days as he tries to save us from the serious missteps of Joe Biden and that administration that almost broke the backs of every American in this country. What about the fentanyl that's no longer pouring across?
They don't care. They don't care about the drug trafficking. They don't care about the sex trafficking. They don't care about the child sex trafficking. They don't care about the women getting raped. They don't care about these things because to their base, they just completely ignore them. It's out of sight, out of mind. They're pro all of those things. Democrats are pro all of those things. They're pro enriching the cartels because all these people that come over here have to pay a cartel to get over here. They don't just walk across the border. They have to get to the border from a certain point. Everyone pays the cartel. And Democrats are pro enriching the cartels because they're pro illegal immigration. So these people act like they're so virtuous by just letting all these people come here. But there's a process that these people have to go through to get here. That's what nobody wants to talk about. And Democrats will never talk about it.
The border? What about the lives that are saved there? What about a president who's trying to end a war that's killing thousands, tens of thousands of people and costing all kinds of our treasure over in Ukraine? What about that? No, he's trying to concentrate on something to make people all of a sudden know who he is so that he can raise money and run for re-election. I find it despicable. I really do.
Yeah.
But look, I met Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama piped up about this immigration stuff on X, and I replied to her, and my replies had gazillions of retweets because all I said was, as far as I'm aware, her own husband deported over 3 million people in 8 years. And no one can persuade me that all of those were done with perfect due process, right? But I don't remember anything like the cacophony of outrage from the left when that was going down. And Obama, I've said this before many times, he was the deporter in chief, was his nickname in Mexico. He couldn't get people out of the country fast enough. Yeah. Why was it fine for Obama? And why do liberals just try and pretend that never happened? And why is it so evil when Trump throws out a lot of people that I would imagine most Americans totally agree with? Yes, there are some. Garcia may well be one or not. We don't really know yet whether he was in this gang or not. If he was, then he deserves to be in the El Salvador hellhole. If he isn't and he's innocent, he deserves to come back. But let's not pretend that most of the people that Trump is kicking out were not on the deportation list already and probably deserve to be thrown out.
Yeah, straight up.
Did Obama campaign in 08-09 on a ticket of closing Guantanamo Bay because it was an illegal torture chamber and he was a lawyer? Yes. Is it still open?
Yes.
Did he deport more people pro rata than any president in history? Yes. Did he drop more bombs in a calendar year outside of World War II than America's ever dropped in a year ever?
Yep.
Yes. You know, did he run illegal drone programs
that killed American citizens?
Yes. In other words, there are lots of things on Obama's
criticize them
watch,
for
which
it.
are, yeah, right. So my point is, you've got to look at these things in totality. If I was an American, which I'm not, but I'm a proud, visa holder, and I have a home in America, I look at the success on the southern border as absolutely stunning, and yet the amount of coverage that's getting is almost nothing. And it says to me that the media remains.
But whose fault is that, Piers?
Well, it's the mainstream. To me, it's the mainstream media. Well, let me bring him back here.
You know who it
These
is.
marginal cases, when you actually look into them, turn out to be not so marginal. Kilmar Garcia did not have an order not to deport him. He had an order not to deport him to El Salvador. So they sent him to the wrong country. But this person is a wife beater and a gangbanger and a human trafficker.
This idiot wants
he
to
should
defend
have
him.
been deported to another country. We were let down as Americans because he got a lot of due process and they just didn't follow through because the immigration courts are deeply flawed.
That's the problem. This guy was skipping out on his court dates. This guy, he got his due process over and over again. So there's no argument there. And I just think it's funny that we had our own lawyer that got fired, by the way, that went to argue this in court and admitted, oh, that was a mistake. Bro, it's not a mistake. And that guy's fired now.
Picked up for supposedly criticizing Israel. They both, the two that are, in the news a lot, belong to a group called Columbia University Apartheid Divest, which put out literature 100% supporting Hamas and the October 7th attack.
A terrorist
that
organization.
Is a violation of a green card. We would never have given somebody a visa who said, I'm going to belong to a group that's going to put out literature.
They lied on their
in support
application.
of Hamas. The two children who allegedly are American citizens who were deported, they were not deported. Their mothers were deported, and because their mothers are not sociopaths, they chose to take their children with them rather than calling up and finding someone else to take their 2-year-old children. So all of these supposedly liminal cases are actually nothing of the sort. There has been no constitutional crisis. This congressman seems to think that having bad polling numbers is an impeachable offense, is somehow a high crime and misdemeanor. It is utterly laughable, and it's because the Democrats have no agenda. Donald Trump is running to the left of them on economics and to the left of them on fighting wars and being anti-war and trying to get us out of different things and trying to settle wars. And he is a social moderate. He's not even a conservative. There is not a single value that the Democrats hold that they are not willing to immediately abandon if Donald Trump starts to defend it. It was the Democrats who thought that we had to control the border to protect working class wages. And now all you see is Democrats out there demanding free trade and demanding more access to China. You see Democrats literally sharing Chinese propaganda
straight up.
because it's against
They love
Trump.
China.
They have chosen China over their own working class voters. And Congressman, I'm sorry, but the UAW and the Teamsters have both endorsed the tariffs. You're in a lot of trouble in Michigan.
Let me bring in Tim.
I have a favor to ask of this congressman, and excuse me, I hope Cenk joins me in this. Congressman, will you file articles of impeachment against Barack Obama for the extrajudicial assassination of Abdulrahman al-Awlaki?
I was not a member of Congress then. I am now. I have seen,
and we can convict him and put him in prison.
Yeah, we knew you would be a coward.
I have seen the unconstitutional, illegal activities of Donald Trump, and those are the ones that I am holding him responsible for.
Nobody cared when Obama murdered American citizens, especially a 16-year-old kid who was not a target.
Obama is not the president right now. Is Donald Trump is the president. Is the people are hurting. He is the one who is grabbing power. He is the one who's taking power away from Congress, and the funds that Congress has appropriated, he is not releasing those funds. He's putting a hold on that. He's the one that illegally
a hold. What's wrong with that? He got
a unelected.
He had a judge told him he could do all this stuff. Like, they already went to court for all this stuff. He's an idiot. They all know he's an idiot too.
Elon Musk in charge of it. He's the one who threw out that reporter from AP, from White House.
Yeah, they're not entitled to be in the White House, dude. They can throw reporters out. Joe Biden did the same thing. Retard.
trampling on freedom of speech of the press.
You're right. I should get permanent access to the White House. Otherwise, my free speech is being violated. So I'm going to go to the White House right now and insist that I'm much more well known than that reporter is. So it's a clear violation of 1A if they don't give me a pass, right?
Well, he's used his power, his position to intimidate media. He's used that to.
So is Obama. This is ridiculous. When Anwar al-Awlaki was assassinated, an extrajudicial assassination, and his 16-year-old son by Obama, the Democrats defended this and they said he should have had a better father. No one cared. Nobody cared. I know Jen cared. I know he's talked about it. I'm mad about it too. So now when you come out and you say Trump's going to be impeached because he's doing things that are unpopular, I'm personally offended.
It's not unpopular. It's illegal.
Murdered
illegal
Americans.
And
no one did anything. And you could right now file those impeachment articles. We could get a critical hearing and a conviction of Barack Obama for the murder of a 16-year-old.
Yep.
The 16-year-old Abdulrahman al-Awlaki was not a combatant. He was at a civilian restaurant in a country we are not at war with. And why won't anyone do anything about it?
This is the one last clip I wanted people to see because this dude's from Michigan, so Carrie Lake appropriately calls this dude out.
Is this a congressman out of Michigan? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
I represent.
And you're not for President Trump. You're not for the tariffs that are going to single-handedly save the American auto industry. Good luck.
He has no idea.
Good luck getting reelected.
Look, our car prices are going to go up. Domestic cars are going to be more expensive. Foreign cars are going to be more expensive. People won't be able to afford buy a car.
The American middle class is going to be bolstered and is going to come back alive, and they're going to be able to afford to buy things. And this is, we talked about this last time around. The American middle class was practically gone when President Trump stepped foot 100 days into the Oval Office. Give him a little bit of a chance here. 100 days is a lot to turn around Joe Biden, who, as I said, destroyed the American economy and continued to destroy manufacturing here.
All right, well, let me know what you guys think, dude. I just like seeing this guy get roasted. He was not prepared for this, man. He did not know what he was getting himself into. But it's always good to see some libtard get fucking roasted and have like actual normal people call him out. Like, you see, he's just a puppet. You see how much of a puppet he is? He doesn't even know like how to answer questions. They're just roasting him. He's sitting there grinning like a complete buffoon. It's like, dude, what is this guy's deal? All right, let me know what you think. Like,